I'll start with you, Chris. Can you explain the main difference between podcasting and live streaming and why a content creator might choose one over the other?
Most of the time when somebody does what's called a podcast, that word, it's kind of gotten a little bit blurry in terms of what it means, especially now that YouTube is really in this. And so sometimes you'll see something that they consider a podcast and is on their platform called a podcast. And you're like, well, this just seems like a video. It doesn't really, like, why are they calling it a podcast? And I think it's sort of training people to think that a lot of things are a podcast. And some other people who have been in the podcast industry, like you're talking about, for a number of years, think of a podcast as, audio only, that you're playing, that you're taking and putting on something that's called an RSS feed that somebody's listening to. A lot of times when I look at this, it just really depends on who you're serving. Jim and I, when we go live on Amazon and we do an interview like we're doing right now, we plan this sort of run of show out. We know that this portion of it is going to be an interview like we're talking right now. Just like Jeff right now has it marked and he calls, I'm firing up the podcast machine, and he knows that he can go into that and he can pull that content down and be able to use it in a myriad of different ways, one being audio only, and putting that onto an RSS feed, which basically puts it on Spotify, puts it on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, all the players, right? And so that's really what I call a podcast. It's not necessarily just audio or just video, it's really both. And then when we're talking about a live stream, the way I look at a live stream is Jim and I will go live and we'll do demonstrations of how to set up a podcast, right? And people are engaging like they're engaging now. We see Jim, we see Randy, we see you, Peg, and we see all these people coming in and having these comments. And so we're actually doing this sort of solving all these people's problems live. And hey, what about this? What is an XLR? What does that stand for? What is this, that, and the other? All of that kind of stuff, probably not going to make a great podcast, right? But what you're able to do is you're able to take that content, and if it's not great for an audio podcast, you can still use it. You can use it for Amazon product videos, chop it up and put it on YouTube. It really becomes something that you can use and also engage with people live at the same time. So that's kind of how I look at the difference between what is a podcast and what is a live stream. And the advantages really of both. We can, chop that up and kind of talk about what that, means depending on what type of content creator you are and who you're serving.